The John Lebang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised.
Worldwide and out to the greater universe, you're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Greetings, Earthlings, normal people, crazy people, people south of the border, people north of the border, in the southern hemisphere, in the northern hemisphere, in the United Kingdom, South Dakota, North Dakota, Delaware, and wherever you may preside. I'm John Lebang, your host. Welcome to the only show that gives you chronic brain cell rejuvenation. This hour we have a galama-free of subject matter to discuss. Everything from the political theater, weird news, even another rendition of the days of our lives. But before we enter that realm of topic, there's an award show, and as you know by being a listener, the Banger has his own award show. And this one that I'm referring to is one that celebrates podcasting. They had an open nominee process. So the Banger asked his supporters to pitch in to, and I didn't even think, honestly, because I don't know if the John Lebang Show is worthy of an award. The Banger Music Hour is probably worthy of one. And for sure, and I'm not winning award, but at least being considered for a nomination, The Adventures, our audio drama spectacle that we performed back in April of 2019 and is made available on the website www.jlebang.com. If you'd like to listen, you can also find it on YouTube because it's available there and some other places. I thought for sure we'd at least get consideration, but we didn't. We didn't get consideration for any of them. But I thought The Adventures, which was, not only did it take almost a year to produce and perform and to publish, it was one of the most perfectly edited and well-conceived stories that I've ever been involved with. It had more one-liners. It was hilarious. It was action-packed. Yet it wasn't considered, and it's going to sound a little like sour grapes, and it might be a little bit, because I've gone, since the nominees have come out, I've gone and listened to a handful of the other affected nominee, the people who were actually nominated for the award, and I was like, do you guys even listen to these podcasts at all? If it was based on ratings in general, they would have a much different process in selecting. They wouldn't have a fan base voting to nominate. I thought what they were doing was, okay, we don't know every podcast out there, so let's get a bunch of people to nominate podcasts, then we can go check them out. You could have given a sample or a hyperlink. They had like a little ballot thing, and you just typed in the name of the podcast or the name of the show. And when I filled out mine, of course, I put mine in specific audio. I think it was called Audio Drama, and then they had a news one, which I did John Lebang Show, and then I did one for the Music Hour. But I also filled in a bunch of my, what I would say, colleagues who I know have great podcasts and aren't recognized for it. like Paul Farah for comedy. There ain't nobody better that puts a whole show together the way Paul Farah does. So I nominated him. And I don't think these guys even checked out Paul. I don't even think so. Same with Kevin Holly. I picked him for a category because he's got a great show. But when the nominations come out, he wasn't there. So I'm trying to understand the process of. I told the guy to listen to my show because I was going to give a critique from it. He wanted the critique in email, and I'm like, no, I'm going to make it public because I'm not scared of my words. I don't have to keep it. It's his thing. He can do it the way he wants, or it's their group of people. But like they had one that was in I think they had one show in particular. There was multiple shows that had multiple categories. But they had one show at 4. I think they were nominated for 4. And it wasn't specific episodes. It was just the show. Did you guys listen to it? Or are these your friends? Sometimes when people do award shows, early on especially, they give credence to the ones that they know the most of. And when you're putting together an awards for whatever subject matter, whatever genre of media that you're covering, because podcasting covers a wide range of things. It's vast. And they had a lot of categories, but then the nominations come in, and there's 720. I mean, there's 10 actually. Let's not exaggerate, but there's 8 or 9 or 10 nominees per category as well. So it makes me wonder what their nomination, how did they make judgments on what made it and what didn't? Was it how many times somebody was nominated? Because if you're going to only do it by that, that's, we call it spamming in some areas of the internet. So if spamming is the only way that you're going to make a judgment on the people who get nominated, well then you're not going to get any. You're not going to give the best. My award show, which is a music show, and to concur something I said earlier, first show ever, we only had a small group of bands, so that's all we could use for the music awards. So that first music awards was just the starter, so there wasn't much there. It was done on a whim on top of it, and a lot of times these awards shows, I don't know what it's an online award thing for podcasting. But when you're giving out awards, usually early on when you're just starting these adventures, you go with what you know because that's all you got. So I thought when they were asking for nominations that they were looking for more podcasts to judge. But I don't know if they did that process. In fact, because they have a plethora in each category, you wonder what their process was. To compare it to the music awards I'm doing, and I understand music's completely different than podcasts, but I had to, I had to feel like I was being fair to everybody as I listened to everything multiple times. And I know it takes a lot of time to do such a thing, especially with podcasts, because there's multiple episodes. And if you really want the best of something, you have to listen to multiple episodes. It's very much like our award in the Banger Music Awards, which is the Rock Your Face Off Award. That is a compilation of great songs. These certain bands have a compilation of great songs that they put out. And that's the only way you can get into this category. And we made sure to listen to all these songs. In fact, we played these songs throughout the Banger Music Hour the whole year. And when we asked for the final submissions, very much like these people were doing, we made sure, though, that we got copies of the music. You have to play it on the show. We have to give the audience that is listening, and in this case of this podcast award, the audience that will be viewing all this, you have to give them samples to make judgments on. You have to. And if you do not, then all you're basing it on is spamming. And that's not a way to run a credible awards event. I don't know what to call it because I can't tell if they did a podcast covering all these podcasts, giving you samples of it. I don't see it on the website, so I don't know. You'd think that'd be readily available. And you would think this process would take weeks to put into place. After the nomination process, which was just a few weeks ago, it ended, now they're all being slapped out there. Now they're all being just slapped out there. And I'm like, I took a whole year to sort through the songs to make sure they were properly placed in the right genre. That everyone got a serious look and played multiple times. In the case of the late arrivals, not only did we play them on the show for the listeners to have their say in it, to give us a little bit of judgment there from the listeners, just in a nomination process, because some of those ones that came in the end are going to make some of the categories. Of course they are. But we had input from our listeners, and then we ourselves, which is not a great big team here. In fact, it's probably smaller than most teams out there. We went and listened to the song over and over and over and made sure that it should be able to be qualified for anything, where we think it placed and all that. And I can tell you, being that the end of the nomination process was only a few weeks ago, it wasn't all that long ago, there's no way that they could have deeply rooted through all these podcasts, especially when you got a galama free of in each category. And then the voting process is like 2 weeks or what, a week, whatever it is. It's not long. I think you got up till when we start our voting. You have a couple weeks. You had a couple weeks to in between the end of the end of nomination process to getting nominated, and then only a couple weeks to the vote. How many people are you going to reach? So, I just do it different. This is not only a little criticism of you. I'm trying to give you guys, if you're listening, some ideas in the future to better yourself. Because right now it looks like it's going to be a spam event. And whoever wins and then you have Rachel Maddow and NPR as award nominees in the news category. Come on. Seriously. But there's no Michael Savage podcast there. There's no Rush Limbaugh podcast. None of them. So obviously the diversity isn't there in that news one. Let alone, what the hell are you giving them any credit for? Leave the big boys out of it. These awards, because you're obviously not on the level of the Grammys, nor am I. Okay, so we're not supposed to be covering the big boys to give the big boys pats on the back unless we just want the attention. But the attention should be focused on the podcasters, as I will be doing in the Banger Music Awards. I'm going to be focusing on the bands. And our voting period is going to be like 2 months. So you're going to give all the nominees plenty of time to promote that they're being nominated. Because it all just doesn't happen in 2 weeks. Some people don't get the message right away, even if you send them And I don't know if they even sent any of these groups a letter saying, hey, you're nominated. I don't know. We do. After the show comes out, the bands will be directly contacted, told what they're nominated for, and then to make sure they understand and make sure they get the message, we go on our Facebook page and tag the living crap out of them and all the stations that carry the show. See, that I don't even understand how this process works, and I know I'm going long. But where do you guys come up with what is a good podcast to you? Because you can't tell me, and now I'm tuning Kevin Holly's as well as my show, Paul Farah's show, and I did nominate the GF6 show as well. All of us are syndicated podcasts or internet radio, no different in my opinion, but you know, the nuances of words and stuff, I don't even want to get into that. None of these podcasts that I've checked, I mean, I haven't checked out everyone, but I've checked out the ones that were repeatedly on there for sure, and the ones that directly competed with what I was nominated or trying to nominate myself for, and I had people nominate me for as well. See, I'm being open about this because, yeah, there's a little bit of there, like, but it's more like, how do you judge this, guys? That's all. How do you judge this so we know in the future if it's worth our time to even put in the stupid nominations? You know what I'm saying? That's all. But you've got the people I mentioned, the shows I mentioned that I nominated, Kevin Holly, GF6, Paul Farah, they're all syndicated on multiple platforms. Internet radio, which doesn't get the you know, those numbers aren't as easily checked as those downloads from the podcast sites. I get it, but still, how do you guys judge all this? That's all I'm asking.
Hey, Uncle Shady, where are they going? Hey, you, get back here. The John Lebang Show will be right back.
Does your house need a paint job, but you don't want to do it? Then call Tom at Quality One Painting. He can handle all of your interior and exterior painting needs. He gives free estimates and senior discounts. Call Tom at Quality One. 313-982-2986. That's 313-982-2986. Quality One Painting.
You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
It's better than an Islander convention.
Last time on Poker Face.
Bring me a Romulan am.
Geek, I think something's wrong with your hollow dick of John.
I forgot to engage the audio. I had it turned off. Dork. Disengage audio bypass.
Hello? Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Now, can we get the game started? I'm about to become a rich man.
Oh, I hope I win.
Here's your drink, fellas.
Now, why'd you grab me, Gaywiser? You know that brings me bad luck.
Sexbox is replaying Godzilla vs. Batman tonight, Uncle Shady. Well, the Dead Wings are playing. Thought we'd put that on.
Listen, Gooba, we're here to play cards, not to watch TV. Now turn on Godzilla, Leroy.
What's the ante? Oh, I want a penny. I brought lots of them.
Listen here, if we're going to do this, let's make it worth my time.
Let's make it a quarter.
Fine, a quarter it is. Now I think them cards have been shuffled long enough. How about you deal them?
Now the continuation. Chapter 3. Pennies in hand.
All right, everybody, ante up.
Here's mine, Uncle Shady.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hey, what the hell you doing?
Shh, I'm counting.
I can see that.
Now I have to start again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Is that all you brought, clown?
Yes, I have been saving up them for months. I have lots of them. Now, could you please stop interrupting me? I keep forgetting where I left off.
Jeez.
Oh, man, leave him alone so he can
let's
count.
do it again. I think I left a little something off, too.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Someone
5,
give me some
6,
chips, man.
7,
Anybody
8,
got some chips
9,
in here? Chips over
10,
there. Get some dip,
11,
too.
12,
Oh, I love
13,
dip. Lord,
14,
give me strength
15,
and the
16,
money.
17, 18,
Listen here,
19,
next time you bring me some shouts, label them so I know which one is which.
Label it yourself. I'm not your man.
24, 25, Okay, now I'm ready. Let's see. Guess I'm going to check. Look at this. Ooh, that's nice. I like this very much. Yes.
All right, Pennywise, we haven't got all week.
What?
Are you checking or are you raising?
Oh, I haven't raised chickens since I was a little boy. Back in my home country.
I didn't say raising chickens. I said, are you raising or are you checking?
Oh, well, let's see. Let me look. I think I will pass.
Yeah, I'm checking too.
Bark, 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 bark.
Oh, shut up, Camel Fried.
Check.
I think I'll check.
I'll raise 25 cents. Oh, it's early. I'll see that.
Well,
What?
are you going to see his 25 cents?
Oh, is it my turn again? Oh, man. This is going to be a long night.
Yeah, it's your turn.
It goes Goober, then you. Got it?
Yes, I understand now.
So?
Let me see. This is very difficult. I think I will fold.
All that and you're going to fold, huh?
Should I not fold?
No, just fold. It's better for the rest of us. I'm folding too.
I'll see your quarter. I will as well.
All right, how many cards? I'll take your deuce.
You should have did that before we started. Now you're going to have to hold it in until we take a break.
No, I meant 2 cards. I'll take 4.
Should have folded, Leroy.
Oh, I'll take 2.
Dealer takes 3.
Hey, Bozo, hand me that hookah.
Oh, here you go. I'll check.
Check. Me too.
Call.
I got a pair of queens. I got a pair of 4s.
Unfortunately, I only have a pair of 7s.
Pair of queens, jack high. I win.
Oh, man.
He's not even here and he's winning.
Maybe he has good karma.
Guess I didn't do so well, huh, Uncle Shady?
Next time, Leroy, don't think a pair of 4s is a good hand. Now deal me some good cards, Goober.
The only one I'm going to deal good cards to is myself.
Don't be cheating now.
I don't have to cheat. I was born to take your money. You know what I'm saying?
It's more like you were born looking funny.
Could I have my hookah back?
Oh, sorry, here you go.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Dork, bring me another ale.
Roger.
All right, fellas, don't be shy with the Andes now.
There you go, take it. Looks like the storm's getting worse.
Kind of like my pocketbook. Now hurry up with them cards, Goober.
Oh, you better hold your horses. You don't want to lose your money too quickly now. 10, 11, 12. So this one's blue. 14.
Let me see what the blue one
15,
is. Oh, that blue one's called
17,
balls.
18, 19, 20, 21.
Ooh, that's
22,
gotta hit you in the poo-poo, don't it?
24,
No, I don't like that one.
25.
All right, dummy, it's your bid.
Okay, let's see. I think I will pass. You knock on table.
Yeah, me too.
Ooh.
We might need some air freshener.
Sorry, I guess it was like passing twice.
I think I'll pass. I think I'll raise it 50 cents.
Fold.
Oh, hell, I'm out.
I think I will fold.
Yeah, I fold too.
Guess it's down to me. What should I do, Uncle Shady?
Well, don't let him have the pot for free, Leroy.
Speaking of pot, can I get that hookah?
Oh, here. Feel free to enjoy.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Come on, man. We ain't got all night here. I think I'm just going to fold.
Oh, looks like I win.
Good job, Leroy. Let the geek get rich.
Thanks for the money.
Here's your answer. Air quality contaminated. Deploying air freshener.
Get them Annies in. Let's get the money again.
Hey, Goober, try that brown sugar.
Get the cat.
It's a little dog.
What?
Smells kind of funny.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
That ain't too
10,
bad.
11.
It's your turn, falafel face.
What? It is?
That's what I said, didn't I?
Well, hang on. I need to finish counting.
Oh,
Yo, man. Stop distracting him.
Listen here, I can't help it he didn't bring any George Washingtons.
4, 5. Oh, I love him. 4 years ago.
That's Abraham from the Bible, you idiot.
who, Uncle Shady?
Abraham. He freed all the Jews, don't you remember?
Oh, I think you're talking about Moses.
Oh, that's the same dude. His name was Abraham Moses. Don't you know anything?
Give me them cards and shut up.
To be continued. We now return you to your regularly scheduled program. Already in progress.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you know how we love to dabble into studies, there is a new study out, folks, a new study that running just once a week could significantly lower your risk of death, says a new study.
Fake news. Fake news. Fake news.
Now, new research has found that any amount of running, and even at a slow pace, could be beneficial for health and could help lower an individual's risk of death.
Fake news.
So you're going to live forever if you move around, folks. You're going to live forever according to this new study, or at least how it is being reported. The findings, published online in the British Journal of Sports Medicine, show that any amount of running appeared to lower the risk of death.
Fake news.
Get out there and run, folks. Get out there and run, and you'll never die. All those people that have run in the past are still alive.
Fake news.
Did you know that?
Fake news.
They didn't die. They just went into a witness protection program somewhere. That's what happened. They just didn't want to be around anymore, so they faked their death because they're running. They'll never die. The study tells you people don't die if you run. So get out there and run, people. Run your asses off, because then you'll never die. You may kill yourself. You don't get tired. I don't know how many. Do your best Forrest Gump, folks. See, Forrest Gump should have never died. Well, Tom Hanks is still alive. See? More proof that backs up this study. If you run, you'll never die.
Fake news.
Well, at least you'll stay healthy and you'll never die, according to this study. Now, in another study that just it just crossed my site the other day, new study reveals that most of us probably already know this, though, but, they had to do a study on it. People will just about say anything to get laid. That's right. Yeah. When sex is on our minds, lying comes pretty naturally.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
So apparently every politician is a sex pervert. And with the Jeffrey Epstein revelation, we'll have to do that in the next hour, because I really didn't have that slated for this hour. But some interesting revelations have come out about Jeffrey Epstein and his death, and the news reporting on it, because the malpractice media, ABC News in particular,
fake news,
suppressed information. Of course they did. Of course they did. Another study shows that, and this is terrible, folks, we may have to rethink this, mouth cancer rates reaching record high. You know what they're blaming it on? Oral sex. That's right. While most cancers are on the decrease, for some damn reason, oral cancer continues to rise at an alarming rate. And I know it's a growing thing. You see people talking about it on Facebook, and I don't understand it, but hey, they're blaming all oral sex. Well, maybe it's the new form of oral sex. It's making a rise. The rim job, to put it mildly. And let's not forget Michael Douglas, who had oral cancer or throat cancer. And he came out and talked about how he loved to go down on women. So maybe that's a factor. There are those secretions that the body makes may not be the healthiest thing to be ingesting or putting in your mouth. I don't know. I'm just saying that this study is telling you that there's an increase in that stuff. We know where society has taken their sexual revolution now, don't we? Now, in some news, which is incredible, but let's get into the news. We'll leave the political stuff till later on. We don't like scaring off those people that hate Trump and those people, the nut jobs and the tinfoil hatters and all those people. Some of those people get really scared off. It's kind of a related story because it has to do with the mouth in a strange sort of way. A man was stabbed to death in Maryland. He was at a Popeyes. You know how that happened? There was an altercation over a chicken sandwich. According to the police, we have been able to determine the preliminary that this is related to the release of a sandwich here at the restaurant. Yo, man! Get out of line, man! I was here first, man! Don't bother me, man. I want my chicken sandwich right now, man. I can't wait to get my Popeye's chicken sandwich. Get your ass in the back of the line, man. I was here first. Listen, bro, I'm too fat not to get my food right now. Lady, give me a chicken sandwich right now because I want to eat it right now. Here you go, sir. Here's your chicken sandwich. Thank you very much, man. I was here first. I get that chicken sandwich. Yo, man, I'm big and fat and need my chicken sandwich, man. Yo, man, get your ass back at the end of the line. That's my chicken sandwich, man. Give me my chicken sandwich. Yo, man, don't mess with my food, man. I'm going to kill you. Oh, come on, man. Let's go. Come on. Come on. Here you go. And then it ended with a victim being stabbed outside the business. He was transported to a local hospital where he succumbed to his injuries about an hour after the stabbing. In a related story, because you know how we love to have companion stories here, folks. A 13-year-old was charged in a double murder. He escapes from the North Carolina cops. Great. The teen, along with a 19-year-old, was charged in October with the murders of two brothers. And he's on the loose. And also a related story, 911 supervisor watching Netflix during a shooting call. That's right, folks. A Carroll Springs Police Department Internal Affairs report provides a shocking snapshot inside the Carroll Springs Police 911 call center. On June 9th, the allegations in the report revealed the mishandling of a shooting that led to more than 30-minute delay for officers to be dispatched and a supervisor who spent their time watching TV shows and movies on Netflix. Could you imagine? This 911 hotline, how may I help you? They shoot me, man! They shoot me, man! Help! They shoot me! What's that, sir? I can't hear you over the Netflix. I'm watching that zombie movie, man! Help me, man! Help me! They shoot me, man! I'm busy watching the movie. Call back later. In other news, Terminator bombs at the box office with only $10.6 million on Friday. Yeah, it's not doing so well.
Get your ass to Moss.
Some other news, why are people over 55 going bankrupt? Yeah, in another study, because we love doing those studies here, the percentage of Americans declaring bankruptcy age 55 to 64 has risen 66% from 1991 to 2016. The percentage declaring bankruptcy ages 65 to 74 increased 204% from that same period. Roughly 12% of bankruptcy filers are now 65 and older, up from 2% in 91. So the old people are going broke. And that's what you get to look forward to when you get older. Because they've robbed your money. The government has robbed your money your entire life. And in the end, they give it back in dribs and drabs. And they still want to tax you after you paid taxes your whole life. They want to tax you on the money they taxed you on. 401ks are good for a little while. There ain't no more pensions. So can you imagine when the next generation moves into that same age group and runs into even bigger problems because they've got less money Because let's be honest, folks, the people that are retired are getting a lot of money for what they actually put in. Something screwy there in the system, but I don't control the system. I just comment on it. We've got to take a quick time out. Second half of the show heading your way. Be right back.
Don't move a muscle.
The John Lebang Show will be right back.
With lots of fun and excitement. Yes! Are you in need of commercial or residential window cleaning? Do you need your office cleaned? Maybe custodial work? How about some gutter cleaning? If you do, then call Pane in the Glass. For a beautiful shine that's crystal clear, call Pane and the Glass. You can find them on Facebook at Pane and the Glass.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
If you want to contact the John Lebang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John Lebang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John Lebang Show. Banger. Now here's John.
Now in shocking news, 9 women and children killed in drug cartel ambush in Mexico. 8 youngsters were found alive after hiding in brush, but at least 5 had gunshot wounds and other injuries. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with Mexico at all. There's nothing wrong with those border states. They don't have anything to worry about because those cartels never cross the border. They never kidnap anybody there. These kids, some of them were burned alive. The footage of the car that was riddled in bullets and then burned, shocking. Yet there's no problem on the border. Not to the Democrats, not to the people who support the Democrats, not to the open borders crowd or the United Nations. Because they're not doing anything to curb the cartel activity. Mexico seems to be inept about it, or at least doesn't want to handle it. And that's probably because there's a lot of corruption in Mexico. Hell, they allow a lot of their people and people from other countries to just travel through their country to come to ours. So, this tragedy, which, if you look at the pictures, they were majority Caucasian. I'm sure the cartels had no racial bias there. None whatsoever. These drug cartels that pretty much run Mexico. They haven't been, I understand the difficulty. We have our own cartels here. Some in government that are extremely hard to control. In fact, you can barely control them. They seem to have links between the two, too, but, criminal organizations always are linked to other criminal organizations. They can't be linked to anything nice and legitimate, although on the surface they can be. But, in the back rooms, that's where they run the real business. That's where they do all the dirty work. That's where they get everything really done. It's just the front. We're so worried. The neocons and the Democrats are so worried about us patrolling the border in Syria, other countries out there. Yet we have this happening right on our border because it was a little border community. They were traveling. It's sad. We've got La Raza who's deeply embedded in this country. And they're no different than one of these cartels. And look at California and the shape it's in, which probably houses the largest Hispanic communities in the nation. And I'm not blaming Hispanic people or Mexicans for anything. But the cartels are from those countries. And this cartel, who had the audacity to kill not only women, thought that was tragic to some people, but babies. But to some people, babies only matter when it's of political gain. Otherwise, abort them all. And if we're going to be in all these other countries, and I've called for this a long time ago, just to settle the immigration issue that's, and I don't even want to call it immigration, it's the trespassing issue. See, we should call things as they are. But the Donald, who is the only one willing to stand up to anything anymore, I don't know why people don't see that. They hear the news reports of all the, they haven't, you guys haven't figured out that it's a colluded effort from the very beginning to take out Trump. And you all believe it. Y'all believe the crap. Can't give a guy credit when you're trying to destroy him all the time, right? See, you're turning a lot of us, unfortunately, and I hate to move off the subject here, but you're turning a lot of us who don't want to side with the guy, but when you're as openly as you are being abusive to a person, some of us are going to come to their aid, not because we want to, but because we understand that if you can do that to them, they can do that, or anybody can do that to us. Trump, the meanie, again, tweets this out about the Mexican cartel thing. And I hate reporting tweets, but it is a thing, and we'll probably get into that later. Here's what he tweeted. This is a time for Mexico, with the help of the United States, to wage war, capital letters, on the drug cartels and wipe them off the face of the earth. We merely await a call from your great new president. And this is one thing I wouldn't have a problem with, because they're part of the reason why there's illegal immigration. There's money to be made in that. So drug cartels move people, move drugs, move all kinds of contraband over the border and pull things back, like kidnapping and stuff. Do you guys realize the amount of people that are kidnapped in border states, especially border communities? It's outrageous. It's not talked about in the malpractice media, just like it's the stuff happening in San Francisco isn't talked about. They can't, anything like that kills their narratives can't be reported. See, in a fair media, that stuff would be reported. Because we really shouldn't be, the media anyways, and I'm in the lower rungs of the media that's, blackballed, not given awards for their podcasting efforts. That's the job of the media, to expose these things. They can't be the fifth state. They can't be controlled by the political oligarchs. That's a good word. I like that, oligarchs. Political oligarchs. We have another study where scientists, our love for scientific minds and scientists out there. Scientists think we need fewer people on the earth to beat the climate crisis. So it's people's fault again. Has nothing to do with aerosoling the atmosphere and the governments and their leaders flying all over the world and having wars or any of that. Has nothing to do with any of that. It has to do with you, the little sheeple out there. All of it is your fault because CO2 levels are rising and the earth, which has happened multiple times in the past, they don't like to tell you that, the earth is possibly warming, although some studies claim to show signs that we are cooling. And that would go with the 29-degree temperatures in early November here in the southern part of Michigan, which we shouldn't see 29 degrees until December. But because the earth is warming, climate change is happening. It changed so rapidly that we went from beautiful weather 2 weeks ago to 29 degree this morning, and I've got to have the heat on in the studio, in the house, and everywhere, wasting natural resources because cooling is much worse than warming. In fact, warming is so beneficial that nobody wants to talk about it. Do you ever find that odd? Nobody wants to talk about why warming would actually benefit mankind. Yes, that would give us more available water. Nobody talks about that. We're always thirsty, right? California wildfires. I mean, we could dump more water out there and keep... I mean, that's another thing. I don't know how that's happening in the great state of California. That wonderful state of California, how they can't figure out how to control fires by now. They happen every year at the same time. They can't figure it out. Love them politicians. They're brilliant. They're brilliant. So we get an increase in water. That's a benefit. We'd have longer growing seasons, which means we would be able to feed more people. Isn't that a problem? You always hear walking through the grocery store, and right now we're going to be hearing it coming up through Christmas with all the charities, how there's so many people hungry out there. Nobody eats enough, whatever, except for the fact that most of us are way overweight. You know, that big old scam is what I think that is, but that's a whole other thing. We'd have longer growing seasons. Sure, we wouldn't be able to ski as often. We'd have to go up into the upper parts of Canada. But that's okay. You know, for you skiers, you don't like that. But I don't have a problem with that. Sure, we would lose some of the coastal. That's okay. More coast would be formed. What's wrong with that? Wouldn't be the first time in the history of the earth that coastal formations changed. That's how Malibu was created and other beaches right now. So why should the average sheeple be blamed for any of that? Especially when we know there are patents for aerosols and other means to terraform the planet. We also have the treaty in 1961, a no-weather weapon treaty. So back then they were screwing around with the weapons, or the weather. They knew how to do something with it, because if they were worried about making a treaty, they don't make a treaty unless it's going to be a problem. To finish this off real quick, Trump pulled us out of the climate accords, which is just fine with me. It happens every December, November, December. They always talk about the climate in the winter. You'd think these people would smarten up. If they want people to believe in the globe is warming, then maybe they should do these conferences not in December when we're all freezing our asses off, but in July when it's scorching hot. Then they could go, see, it's hot. At least they would have some credibility at that moment in history. Right now, we're all freezing our butts here in the Iditarod of Michigan, the Antarctic of Michigan. That's really 29 degrees this morning. Too early for this. So, folks, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side of this, the days of our lives.
Smoke them if you got them.
Because the John Lebang Show will be right back
After this.
That's guaranteed. Yes.
At Absolute Skin and Body Care, they only use the best laser equipment in the industry so that you receive the best results possible. They'll explain all the procedures in detail and answer all of your questions. Absolute Skin and Body Care. If you're looking for skin rejuvenation, laser lipo, or laser hair removal, call Absolute Skin and Body Care. They're located at 37625 Ann Arbor Road, Suite 105 in Livonia, Michigan. Absolute Skin and Body Care. Their office phone numbers are 248-305-3000. That's 248-305-3000. Absolute Skin and Body Care. You're listening to the John Lebang Show. It's huge. Now I got to tweet about it.
Last week on The Days of Our Lives,
Burisma Holdings is an energy corporation in Ukraine, and Hunter Biden, the son of the former vice president, has made a rather handsome profit from it, especially in the aftermath of the 2014 events in Ukraine.
There was an enormously bitter contest where arguably the more popular candidate, Bernie Sanders, lost thanks to rigging by the Democratic establishment, and that wound has never really healed.
You know what? The billionaires can afford it, and I don't call them middle class. So, billionaire, that's where it worked.
California, the golden state, isn't so golden. It's actually, its cities are turning into decrepit third world cities.
I think it's going to be purely partisan. In the House, no Republicans voted for this.
Now, the continuation.
According to an appeals court, Trump must turn over 8 years of his taxes. You know, folks, I have no idea what all this obsession with his taxes are. Why do you guys care? Why do you care? We know he's rich. Do you really want to know how rich he is? Is that supposed to diminish his appeal to his fan base? Because right now his fan base is as high as ever from what I can tell. And because of the left and all the negative news coverage, you're converting, or at least turning, people who were mildly against him or mildly pro him or somewhere in the middle there, more in his favor, because we just can't stand the idea that you can pull this on him. Then we know that one day you could pull it on us, and we don't have the means to fend it off like he does. Then, and I think what is a brilliant move, Trump decides he's leaving New York and going to Florida. He will never win New York, right? That's a Democrat stronghold. They're going to always vote Democrat, no matter they have a hometown guy. But he's going down to Florida, a swing state. Well, I think that's going to help him, and that may secure that swing state, especially after their governor just won too, and he's a Republican. I think in the political realm, Trump did a pretty good political move by going to Florida, moving his residency to Florida. But now, on the bad note, we just found out that the U.S. debt surpassed $23 trillion for the first time. Growing budget deficits have added to the nation's debt at a very speedy rate since Trump took office. The debt has grown 16% since Trump's inauguration, when it was $19.9 trillion. We just passed $22 trillion for the first time 10 months ago. So now if you want to complain, all the haters out there, I'm with you on the debt. Trump should have never signed that omnibus bill, because that omnibus bill really was the catalyst for igniting the flames even bigger. I mean, it was like setting gas on it. But Trump signed it, the omnibus bill. He should have just let the government shut down. And Trump did it so he could invoke those emergency powers and have a whole bunch of money to do the wall, which he promises will be done, or 500 miles will be done by the end of next year. In another recent study, only about 20-some% of people in the United States have Twitter. It might be even less. I vaguely remember a story on that. But they use tweets as news. And why do reporters do that? Is it because the small amount of people on Twitter are the most important? Do they represent you, America? We have some sound bites, because that's what we do here in the little segment called The Days of Our Lives. And this one comes from Fox News, and they're reading a tweet, because tweets are news these days, but this tweet is very revealing. It comes from Andrew P. Bakaj, the lawyer of the supposed whistleblower, who we are now finding out has connections to Adam Schiff and Joe Biden. Take a listen.
Moments ago, Andrew Bakaj, the whistleblower's attorney, if Congress and others do not protect my client's anonymity, which my client is afforded by the law, not only does it jeopardize their safety, but it jeopardizes an entire system that took decades to build. It will destroy effective congressional oversight for years to come. Your response to that?
Did you hear that, folks? Now, do you think they were talking about the United States system? It's being reported that's what they're talking about. But I don't think they are. I think this is a moment of truth from Andrew. This little quote in the tweet. It jeopardizes a system that took decades to build. What does that mean exactly? What is this guy talking about? It's all laid out in the Constitution in Article 2, Section 4. The provision reads as follows. The President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. That's in the Constitution. So what is this guy talking about? Well, I can tell you what he's talking about. He's talking about the deep state embedding itself inside our government. That's what he's talking about. That is a moment of truth that is being glossed over by almost everybody in the media. And I believe the Banger is the only one that's going to point this one out. This guy is telling you we have built a system in place and it's about to be jeopardized because Donald Trump and some people are exposing the Bidens. And let's get into another soundbite from Rand Paul right here.
The only thing that I've discovered after looking at both sides on this is that everybody seems to want to influence the aid to Ukraine. Biden said, we'll cut it off if you don't fire this prosecutor. Menendez said, if you don't keep investigating Trump, we'll cut your aid. Murphy was there a month ago, and he says, if you investigate Hunter Biden, we'll get rid of your aid. It seems like everybody on both sides of the aisle has been threatening Ukrainian aid.
If you're talking about quid pro quo, here's Joe Biden telling you he did that very thing with, guess what country? The Ukraine.
I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here, and I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired.
Fire the prosecutor or you're not going to get money. Isn't that what they are complaining about Trump doing? And I don't even think he went that far. In fact, I read the transcript. He's not even close to that. And it's available on the John Lebang Facebook page. If you want to go there, John Lebang Show Facebook page. To read it yourself, you have to scroll down because it's been a while since I posted. I don't keep everything at the top there. Now we have Mark Stein, probably my favorite guest host for Rush Limbaugh. He talks about Trump and his impeachment, and so what?
And you think to yourself, well, maybe that's not the sort of thing a prudent man says about himself. But you have to take him in full. And they're betting that in full he beats whatever the Democrats have. And you see that in the confidence on the T-shirts. Standing behind him are people wearing T-shirts saying, read the transcript. In other words, he's factored in, okay, the House is going to impeach me. So what? And in that sense, he's being completely different, for example, to the way Bill Clinton reacted to impeachment 20 years ago.
The Dems expected to win because they had the biggest scam ever perpetrated in any time period in history. And to prove this, it would have been more realistic for Joe Biden to run for the presidency last time around in 2016 when Hillary ran. But Hillary was running because she also was embedded in all this. Because there's going to be some information coming out about the State Department in the next few weeks that's going to blow your freaking mind. So no wonder Joe Biden had to run for president this time around because he's got something to protect. See, he was all set to retire, and pretty comfortably, if Hillary won. But she didn't. Out of nowhere, to the great disbelief of the malpractice media, but this scam is so much more pervasive than anyone really understands and knows. And this information is going to start trickling out over the next few weeks. I wish I could do more for you tonight, but we're really up against it, folks. We got to get on out of here. Thank you for joining me this show. Please check out our affiliate stations. I want to thank them for carrying the John Lebang Show. Don't forget to go to our website, www.jlebang.com, and until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again, thank you for listening, my friends. We'll see you next time, right here on The John LeBang Show. Signing off for now from the Banger Studios.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff. Tune in again next week. Same time,